Hello, and welcome back to another gardening video. Now in this video, we're basically going to be re-reviewing the houseplants that I reviewed in my top 16 houseplants video that came out just under 2 years ago. So I'm going to show you a comparison of what they were like 2.5 years ago to what they're like now, so you can really see how good these houseplants are and how long they can last. Now all of the names of the different plants will be in the description down below. Please like the video, subscribe if you're new, and comment down below your favourite houseplants. I'd be really interested to know if you have any favourite houseplants that I haven't shown here. So let's get right into the video and start re-reviewing and reviewing my best houseplants. So the first plant that we're going to be re-reviewing is this, which is a zizii plant, which I quite like, not only because its name are my initials, but also because it's a really good plant for any shady spaces, any shady rooms that don't get much sunlight, and it's absolutely thriving. If you see the comparison, it's a lot bigger than it was, and you can see we even had to repot it because it was getting so big. So the next plant to re-review on our list is this, which is a Asparagus fern, or also known as a lace fern, and it's grown a lot in the last 2 years. You can see we have it up on a mantelpiece now so that it's kind of trailed up, and then we've trained it a little bit along this picture so it makes a nice kind of arc, and you can see it's even gone up to touch the ceiling, and it's got all these tendrils and so on, and you can see it's got these lovely kind of ferny flat light leaves that are different to normal ferns but just make this one so special. And this is one of my favourite plants just ever, so I would definitely recommend this to anyone because it is a truly fantastic houseplant to have. Now you can see the Aloe Vera plant in there, and it's looking a lot smaller than it was before, and that's because it just got so big that we just cut it all back because it was kind of spilling onto the floor and it was taking up too much space. But it's responded quite well. It hasn't died at all. You can see the remaining leaves are still doing really well. So it's now just contained within the pot, and it's still pretty big, and it's still being a really good houseplant. Now here is the peace lily that we reviewed about 2 years ago, and you can see it's gotten so much bigger. It's flowered many times in that time. It's like tripled in size. I mean, we had to repot it because it was getting too big for the other pot, and once it was repotted, it just exploded with growth, and it's doing really healthily. And you can see from here, it's had lots and lots of flowers. Haven't quite had time to deadhead, but yeah, peace lilies are just one of the nicest houseplants. They don't require that much attention, just watering, and they're pretty good with most light conditions, and they're just an all-round pretty nice houseplant to have. So the next plant that we're re-reviewing is a Ponytail Palm, and it's been pretty good. You can see it's gotten a lot bigger since it was. However, it's been attacked quite a lot by these kind of little white scaly bugs, and we've tried to get rid of them again and again, and they just haven't gone away. We've sprayed it with neem oil, we've showered it, rubbed them all off, and they keep coming back. So I may have to get rid of this in the near future if we don't find a way to fix this pest problem. However, other than that, I would say it has been a very successful houseplant, and in a place where you don't get many scaly bugs and stuff, then I would definitely recommend this because a nice palm-like feature to add into your house. This is a little pine tree, and you might think, well, you can't keep that as a houseplant. I mean, pine trees live in forests outside. And that's what I thought too, but I'd never got really round to planting it outside. And then it produced all of these kind of new offshoots you see off the main stem. And it's been here for a year now, and it's been growing and doing really well. And so I'm just going to keep it as a houseplant, and maybe in a couple years, if it starts to not do very well, maybe then I'll plant it out. But it's been a pretty nice houseplant to have, just to have a little pine tree indoors all year round. So this next plant here is a Mistletoe Cactus, and it has these long trailing stems that can trail over the edge of worktops. Like you can see this Mistletoe Cactus is trailing really far down. So it's just how high you can put it is how high it will trail down, and it's been here for probably about 3 years, and it's still growing really nicely and strong and hasn't had really any problems, and it's just doing generally all well. And it has kind of these different kind of leaves to normal. They're kind of, I don't know, kind of stems, tendrils that are different to most other houseplants. So it's quite a unique kind of foliage to have in your house. Then this is my Ficus Benjamina bonsai tree, and you can see it's a lot bigger and bushier than it was before. And I haven't really been bonsaiing it, like folding over the branches and training it. I've just kind of been letting it do its own thing because I like seeing the growth and it just kind of become a little tree. So it's still, you can see it's a bonsai, thick trunk, small tree, but it's just, I would say bonsais are a really nice houseplant to have, just because they're so small and special and ancient, but yet you can have it in your room. Because this tree is about 25, maybe 30 years old, and yet it's tiny, really small, so it's a really special thing to have. Then this is my full-sized Ficus Benjamina, and you can see it used to be up on that chest of drawers, and we've now had to put it almost on the ground because it's gotten so tall. This is the height of me, so it was touching the ceiling, so we had to move it. It's now here where it can get much more light and hopefully grow into an even bigger tree. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favourite houseplants that I'll always recommend that people get. So this is my butterfly palm, or Areca palm, and you can see it's definitely a lot bigger than it was 2 years ago. It hasn't really had many problems, it's just been growing and growing. I mean, it did get a few scaly bugs, but we easily just washed them off and they haven't really come back. And you can see it's right by a window, so it's getting lots and lots of light. It's a really nice houseplant to have, so I would definitely recommend it too. Then I've also got this houseplant, which you can see it's got a really tall kind of trunk stem and then leaves at the top there. And when I first got it, the leaves were about here, and they've just grown and grown and grown, and the whole thing has grown all the way up to there in about 2 or 3 years. And the leaves have these nice stripes on them that make it quite pretty, and it hasn't had many problems. You can see it's right by the window, so it's getting lots of light. So the next plant we're going to be re-reviewing is this, which is a Boston fern, sometimes also known as a sword fern. And we've had it, I think, about between 8 and 10 years, and it's still going. It's had like almost an entire lifetime, and it's still doing really well. It's been repotted quite a few times, and we have it in a bathroom that's north facing. So and you can see it's still doing really well, as is this one. So they're really good for places that don't have much light, and they're really good for bathrooms that have a higher humidity than the rest of the house. But yeah, it's done really well. It's proved itself as a good houseplant, and I would definitely recommend it. So the next plant we're going to be re-reviewing is this, which is a Christmas cactus. And every year it flowers with these amazing pink flowers. And as you can see from a couple years ago, this has gotten much larger, and this is probably one of my favourite houseplants, just because even when it's not in flower like now, the leaves still look really nice. You don't have to water it too often because it's a cactus, so you can just water like once a week or once every 2 weeks, and it's happy with that. Yeah, this is just a really nice houseplant, and it's clearly loving where it is, and it's not even in a sunny window or anything. So this next plant is a Croton plant, and I've had it for about 2.5 years now, and you can see from 2 years ago how much bigger this has got. It's literally like 4 times bigger than it was, and it's just been steadily growing new leaves up here and just growing up and up and up, because before it was about here and now it's all the way up here, and so it's getting quite tall, and I'm going to repot it actually so that it can get even bigger hopefully. But yeah, it's got really nice variegated leaves that the older they get, the darker they go, and the more kind of colour becomes visible. But yeah, this is probably one of my favourite houseplants ever. So this next plant that we're going to be reviewing is a dwarf umbrella plant, and I've had it for about 2.5 years now, and it has gotten so much bigger than it was when I got it. When I first got it, it was about this tall, I think, and it's now this tall. And it's even recently sprouted an extra kind of stem here, so that will probably branch off into a second one. But the leaves are just have such a nice pattern, and this is honestly also one of my favourite houseplants. So this next houseplant is a moth orchid. You can tell by these large flat leaves, and this is currently full on in flower. And this is a mini orchid, so you can see how small these flowers are. But you can get orchids in all different types of varieties, this being a moth orchid, and you can get all different types of flowers, and you can get big flowers as well. And as well as this little one, I've also got this bigger orchid. You can see the leaves are a lot bigger, and it flowered non-stop for about a year, and just as it stopped flowering, it's now recently sent out this flower tendril that will keep growing up and up and up and then flower again. So that's really, really exciting. And so long as you look after your orchids properly, they can last you for many, many years.